We're live. We're live. We're live. Good morning. Good morning. Guess what? This is the pre-game show for Larry Elder. He's going to be here today, 12 noon. It's on like Donkey Kong this morning. Let's talk about Colossians 4:6 and the salt that we speak of. Come on now. Good morning, everybody. Let's get it on like Donkey Kong. I see you, Chad.
Preview.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man.
The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Ready to go. I'm revved up, ready to go. I got lots of friends out there. People are coming on. It's just such a great day. I just can't believe how good I feel on a Monday, right? So there's just a little bit going on right now. I got to tell you, there's a lot going on in my life. And I know there's a lot going on in your life. And I want you to understand that I am here to, I believe, enhance your life. I believe to, obviously, I think it's growing me too. I had a conversation with Chad this morning at 5 a.m., 4:30. I don't know. But we were talking about lots of things. But before we got to like the meat of our conversation this morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock, thank you for falling forward on the time. I had an extra hour to prepare, and I'm still 1 minute late to get on the damn show. I mean, I don't know what I got to do. I'm up. I'm like cramming, studying, and God's speaking to me, and it's like one more, and then it's 7:31. But I get a phone call this morning at what used to be 4:30, which was 5:30 this morning or something like that. Spring forward, fall backwards. I think that's how it works. We got an extra day. Well, Chad calls me because Todd. He says, listen, you got to understand what's going on is the Tiki Hut retreat is on like Donkey Kong. There's no question that it's on like Donkey Kong. And so what's going on is I have Chad and Brian Dickman. You got to see this, man. I got to show you what's going on. So I'm literally, they should send me some photos so I can play it up for them. But I downloaded some photos here of what's going on. And this is me, like Chad's, he's probably, let me see if I can shift this, because shift +5, shift 5. I don't know. Chad, I can move that picture to the right, but I just can't figure it out right now. But so anyways, this is me putting the Tiki Hut stage together. Like we're moving. We rented this U-Haul Enterprise truck with a lift gate on it. Like I'm not used to moving big machinery like that, but this is me actually loading this massive Tiki Hut retreat jumbo scron 10 by 9 LED screen. And I'm loading it. And then there's a picture of me here. Let's see. What's this here? That's me going up and down on the lift gate, getting ready to go at Angola Saturday at 10. There's no line here. It's got the date. I'm telling you, this is what I was doing Saturday. That was basically 2 days ago. Chad loads up the truck. I take a power pose here, like, hey man, I'm cool, right? I think we were gonna do a video there, and it didn't shake out. And then here is my good friend Bill. He was helping. No, that's me. That's me again. I thought I had one of Bill in here loading stuff up. But so we got things loaded up in the Enterprise truck, and we're on our way. It's on like Donkey Kong. Chad is on his way with Brian Dickman, and they're driving from Angola, Indiana to Longboat Key. And at Longboat Key at the Zota Resort, we're going to be setting up the most amazing Tiki Hut retreat. Yes, people have kept coming and filling. We have 40 people. Like we were programming somewhere around 30, and we're pushing 40 right now. And great great last minute surge for us. And what a great feeling that is to have people. We're going to be teaching people how to grow their life spiritually, personally, and profitably. That's what we do on this show every day. So good morning. Everyone give Chad and Brian Dickman Chad, Michael, and Brian Dickman a shout out because they're driving. I think they're going to drive straight through. I don't know. I asked them not to. Heather gave them some cash. I don't know what they're going to do with the cash. Heather, why don't you give them a credit card? I don't understand that. But anyways, guys, we got your back. Just get here safely. Bring the goods. Let's get it on like Donkey Kong. We're building something special here. We're going to talk about Larry Elder this morning. We're going to talk about culture, counterculture, culture, counterculture, culture, right? Like, so it's important that all of you understand that what we're going to talk about today really speaks to you. I got chain problems. Really speaks to you because you are wired differently. You are counterculture culture. Remember, we did our culture. We did a whole week on our culture. And one of the things that we need to talk about is that once we define what our culture is, we know what we are. We went through all of those things. But our culture, our wired differentiality, our unusualness to stand up in this world, right? Our unusualness for us to be like, I love God, I love Jesus, I'm willing to align and take his side, I'm willing to stand for him, right? We are counterculture. Like, the culture we live in now is not that culture that says those things. It's just not. We had Sebastian Gorka on here a while back, almost 2 weeks ago now, and I just want you to know what's going on in my week. So we had Sebastian. We had a good time. We went through the stuff we needed to do. And then I'm telling you, on November 13th, I'm doing the Battleground America cross countdown to 2024 election in Tampa. That's coming up the following Monday. And then right here is the ad for that. There it is for that. Join us November 14th. Countdown to election 2024 with Sebastian Gorka, Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, and your special guest and the Wired Differently co-host guy, Todd Saylor. Come on now, somebody. Counterculture, right? I got that going on the 14th. And let's see what else we got going. We've got, we all know what this is going on. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, the Kingdom Inspired Conference, the business conference, the Unconventional Brilliance Conference that's counterculture, right? We're working it all in here right now. The Tiki Hut Retreat, that's not 8 days. It's like 2-3 days. I'm nervous even thinking about it. And one last thing, what do we got? Where is the cigar club? I must have missed that. So on the 13th, I will be with Sebastian Gorka doing the cigar club at Sarasota. Somehow I erased that one. So what's Sebastian Gorka? So we got a lot going on, but I want you to realize, I guess, importantly, what's going on right now is at 12 noon today, Eastern time, 12 noon Eastern time today, Larry Elder, presidential candidate, 12 p.m. That's today, this Monday. We're going to be talking to him about not only his candidacy that he just recently dropped out, but his new book and his counterculture fight for America and for the Black race. I can't wait to get into this with you. I can't wait to get him on the show. I have never really met him personally. This is really an amazing situation for all of us to be able to share Larry and to do this and take this on our Wired Differently show. So that's fun. So counterculture. So let's talk about counterculture. Let's talk about what's going on. Let's give everybody a shout out there. Thank you for everything. All the comments we're already getting here. What a great morning. So counterculture. Let your conversation be seasoned with salt. That's the scripture that was brought up to me this morning. And so what I want to talk to you about is, I wanted to do one little shout out here. We need to be, this is Chad, Michael. Chad Cook, Giacomo Cook, and he is not wanted, but yes, he is driving the truck. I wanted to just do this for you, Chad. It's a great photo of you, and if you ever were put in jail, that's what you would have a beautiful mugshot. So love you, Chad. I want to just give you a shout out. You're doing great. I don't know. I had that on there. I wanted to punk him because this morning what happened is he called me at 5:30. Back at the beginning, we'll go to counterculture. Is that he calls me up at 4:30, which is 5:30. Evidently, the times changed, but he says, "Hey Todd, what's going on?" I said, "I'm studying for the show." And he says, "Oh, that's good." I said, "Well, how's everything going?" Because I was always nervous about everything in our show was in that truck. I just showed you all that stuff. I wanted to finish that story. I said, "Chad, what's going on? Why are you calling me? You know I'm studying for the show." I'm getting. He goes, "Oh, Todd, I just want to let you know everything's going great, but the truck is smoking." I said, "Well, where are you?" He says, "We're on our way out of Ohio, and we've been running pretty good until now. It's just smoking." I said, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" I mean, I don't know. We don't really have a good backup plan other than a slideshow of some sort. And he says, "I don't know." I said, "What do you think?" He goes, Did your brother Shane put unleaded fuel in this diesel truck?" I said, "I don't know what my brother Shane, he's capable of anything, good things, crazy things. I don't know. He's half asleep all the time, right? Making donuts. He's working hard." Shane filled the truck up and took it to Chad's house after I loaded it, right? And I'm like, "Chad, I don't know." And I literally started to have a heart attack. I literally, like, my wife is asleep next to me. I'm taking the phone call. I'm gasping for air. He can't hear it, but my heart rate goes up. I'm like, everything that we had been planning. I said, "Chad, are you kidding me?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm kidding." I said, "Chad, that's not good." So I had to repunk the punk Chad with his mugshot, his driver's license. Anyway, so that's what's going on. With friends like Chad, you need less friends. Yeah, I said that. So, Chad, let's talk about you. Let's talk about Larry Elder. Let's talk about Colossians 4:6. So let me just bring up Colossians 4:6. What does this do for us personally, spiritually, and profitably? And I just want to set up the show because I'm really doing this show as a precursor to what's going to happen today at noon. I've got some great videos I want to show you. I want to show you some things that are going on in this world, and I want to set this show up because Larry's going to be on, and this guy is counterculture as they come. There are very few people out there that really embrace the truth in many, many ways that are counterculture to their own kind, right? Like when I say counterculture, I want you to understand sometimes I have to go against the grain of my own family. Sometimes I have to stand up and say, or go against even the grain of my own companies. I mean, that's my moral stand. That's where I have to be. Sometimes we have to literally swim upstream like a salmon. I mean, culture has changed so much that when it comes to becoming a Christian or being a Christian, we're constantly putting a place where the culture is not in our best, easiest way, right? The culture is going one way, and then our Christian culture is going another way, and they always are colliding. Supernatural, super exuberant, everything. It's crazy how they continue to collide. We can't avoid this culmination of the culture that we live in and the culture that we believe in, that they're counterculture. And so we are called to lift ourselves up and be counterculture. And Larry Elder has inspired me in many, many ways. Not even before the show was that he's like, I don't even know that. I mean, I've heard a lot of his message, and obviously, clearly, most of it I agree with and I understand. I can't even tell you what I don't agree with, but I'm telling you that I'm watching this man in a sea of people that are throwing darts at him constantly because he is counterculture. He is literally taking God's word. He's taking facts. He's taking real things, and he's placing that in the black culture and saying, "Hey, wait a minute. It's really not the way you see it." it's being portrayed one way, not another way. And if you really want to help the black race, if you really want to move the black race forward, then you need to really see it for what it is. And so when I see this is not really a show about race or black culture versus white culture at all. This is really about this idea of our willingness to be counterculture, because when God speaks to us, he's preparing us to all be countercultures as Christians. And so when I look at a Larry Elder, I look at him demonstrating not only counterculture and Christianity, but I see him demonstrating the strength or the power, the willpower, the bravery to be counterculture in his own race. I'm going to play a 3-minute video. And what I really want to play this video for is because I want you to see what Larry Elder is up against, right? On a daily basis. Now, this is not a video of me taking a position of anything. It's this idea of counterculture. It's this idea of you standing up for what you believe. Pick a side. Counterculture, pick a side. It's our culture, right? Come on now, somebody. We've been talking about this for a long time. This is your time to understand you are counterculture. We, as wired differently people, thrive in counterculture. We need to push back, elevate, and find our market dominating position, right? Our niche. We are counterculture people by nature. Now, I'm going to shut this up. It's kind of hard to watch because I love Larry so much and he's kind of being attacked, but I want you as a viewer to see what it's like to be Larry Elder taking on counterculture.
Black students drop out more. That is true. But when you look at the educational data, it talks about not just dropouts, but push outs, right? And people don't drop out of school because they don't study enough. When you look at the reasons that are given to people, that students give for why they left school, when you look at the data that teachers and administrators give for why students are leaving school, it's how they're treated. It's school discipline, which you're right about. Black kids get suspended more than white kids, but they also get suspended more than their white counterparts for the exact same offenses. And there are scholars like Russell Skiba who would point to the fact that teachers at that moment are making objective interpretations, subjective interpretations of student behavior. So they have to decide whether or not a student is being aggressive or violent or disengaged. When you look at the objective measures of suspendable offenses, like bringing a knife or punching a teacher in the face or smoking crack in the lunchroom, Black and white kids get suspended at the same rate. But the difference is when you have to make interpretations of Black behavior, the same way police officers have to, and other people have to interpret people who've always been interpreted as violent and pathological and immoral, etc., things turn out differently. You say class can explain a lot of this stuff, but even in the case of Black women dying, I mean, you have the Serena Williamses and the Beyoncés of the world who encounter the same thing. And I know, lastly, and I'll give you a chance to get the final word on this, even when you look at the hospital stuff, I mean, Black women's pain scores have to be higher than white women's to get the same amount of drugs or medicine in a hospital. There are different answers. And in Diva Pager's study, to give you one more, shows that white men with a felony are more likely to get a job call back than Black men without a felony conviction. This is before they even meet the guy. And they've done several studies on names on a CV or a resume where they take Larry Elder, who's Black, and they read his resume. Or that's a bad example, but let's say your name were Jamal Jenkins, right? They take Jamal Jenkins' resume, and then they take Michael Smith's resume, and they got the same stuff on it. Jamal Jenkins is less likely to get a callback. It's just a piece of paper. He didn't get a chance to be Black yet in person. You know, so how do you? I don't get how you don't see any systemic issues. You got the final platform.
You said a lot of things. Let me just address the part about education. It actively a fact that high school Black kids study less than high school white kids and high school Asian American kids. If there's a relationship between how hard you work and results, that's a problem. Regarding this business about blacks being kicked out more than white kids, it is true. Eric Holder even referred to that as pernicious racism. It's also true that black kids are kicked out more often than white kids if the teacher is black or white, if the principal is black or white, if the school board is all black or all white, because black kids are disproportionately misbehaving. And if you don't kick out the black kids who are misbehaving, guess who suffers? The other black kids who are not misbehaving. So it's not true that this is happening because of racism.
Okay, so that's a clip that I think is, I don't want to call it disturbing or anything, but I just think it's uncomfortable. Right. And so listen, I want you to understand, we're going to have this man on the show 12 o'clock noon today, and we're going to talk about the black face of white supremacy. That is the title of the show, the black face of white supremacy. But I want you to understand that it's not really, I'm not hiding from anything. I've got positions on this stuff, and I'm getting better positions and more informed positions. I have great counsel with black friends of mine that I listen to and I love dearly, and I realize there's always two sides to every story. But I think that sometimes either side doesn't think there's two sides to every story. And I think it's important that the Wire Differently people, the Wire Differently understanding, the Wire Differently counterculture idea or movement is this idea of being willing to look at the truth, look at the obvious truth and support the truth. But sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be a Christian. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to be Larry Elder. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to watch Larry Elder sometimes, because as a white person, we're just like, I can speak for myself. I'm perplexed at times. I get frustrated at times when I get involved in this racism conversation and this idea of white cops versus black cops and unarmed shooters and all that BLM and all that kind of, I'll be honest with you, I'm very uncomfortable with it. And I have black friends that are one way, and I have black friends that are another way. And we got this situation, and we're all trying to make sense out of it. And we're just trying to find our way forward. But the point of what we're going to be talking about today is counterculture, right? Colossians 4:6 says this, and I just think it's amazing that the way God prepares me for these shows, because last night I put out the title of the show, Counterculture. And I put out the title of the 12 o'clock interview with Larry Elder, which is the black face of white supremacy, which I know is going to shake some cages and rattle some things and this or that. But I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, you study Larry Elder, you study Brandon Tatum, you Candace Owen, you look at these people and they're fierce. They're counterculture. And so when you look at the span of this, I think it's just amazing that I wake up this morning, I look at my title of my show, Counterculture with Larry Elder, and I look at counterculture, and then God gives us a scripture, Colossians 4:6. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Now, it just doesn't so happen that the Bible verse that's given to me in Colossians is exactly, I feel, damn near exactly lining up with what I want to talk about. And if there wasn't a better Bible verse that described Larry Elder, I don't know what there would be. Larry Elder is like one of the most pronounced radio guys in the history of the planet. I mean, this guy's been around. He's 70 years old. He has been doing radio. He's done movies. He's done talk shows. He's done everything. He's wrote 18 books, like we're going to talk about that today. And he's got a new book coming out right now, As Goes California, which, by the way, he's going to talk about. It releases tomorrow. We're going to be the first show to talk about that book. It's my story. I'm going to tell it the way I want, right? But when you think about counterculture, and I want to take you through this morning right now, because I want you to understand, you are wired differently. You watch this show. I went to a class reunion this last week. Actually, it was Saturday of my wife, and it was the Prairie Heights class reunion. In Prairie Heights and Angola, we were rival high schools back in the 80s, and there was fighting and wrestling and, cruising around in cars. There's all kinds of mayhem back then. But 40 years later, I go to the class reunion. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to say about me, what I knew what they said about me back in the day. But when I got there, it was surprising to me that everybody grown up, man. Everybody had matured. Everybody was like in a certain space. But when I got there, they were loving on me. The wife of the popular Tracy Foltz, the husband of the popular Tracy Foltz shows up and they're loving on me. The ultimate Angola rival, the guy that they grew up to hate in all the sports and everything. It was just an amazing thing. And it was all through this conversation of life, this conversation of grace, conversation of salt, and how we mature, and how almost every one of those people there were of God-oriented people. Matter of fact, at the end of the entire event, not even my own reunion, a beautiful lady by the name of Pam asked me to do grace at the end of my wife's rival high school class reunion. And it was like one of the greatest blessings I could have ever asked for. Right? And I think about this in Colossians 4:6. I think about Larry Elder in Colossians 4:6. I think about Chad this morning in Colossians 4:6. I think about this whole counterculture culture. And there's not a better man in the world to be setting up our counterculture culture conversation than Larry Elder. So let's break down Colossians 4:6. The Apostle Paul is in jail and he writes this letter to Philemon. And he wants to get this letter over to Colossus. And Colossus is this city, this old city that was thriving at one point until a road went another way, the highway went another way, and it's kind of evaporated that city's wherewithal from being the biggest city. And Colossus was also the city where King Xerxes attacked and ran through like water King Leonidas in the movie 300, right? So we got it all coming both ways, right? Colossians 4:6 is wrought with history, right? Paul writes the letter to Philemon. Philemon takes the letter to Colossus. Colossus is going crazy because Gnosticism has hit Colossus. Well, what is Gnosticism? Gnosticism is this idea of, yeah, we know there's a God. Oh, we know about a guy by the name of Jesus Christ. And we have just decided that Christ is a super cool dude, super cool prophet. Yeah, he did some cool things, but he is not God. He's not God. He's just a super cool dude that God gave some tricks, right? I'm going to try something right here. God just gave this super cool dude, Jesus, some tricks. Tricks. Not miracles, signs, and wonders. They're just tricks. They were just kind of, so Jesus really wasn't the right guy. Jesus just said, hey, here, I got a rope, and let me just see what I can do here. Tricks. Gnosticism. Just tricks. It wasn't real. Jesus wasn't really God. He was just a guy that God gave tricks to. So Gnosticism was taking over Colossus. Gnosticism was this idea of Jesus not really being the real dealio. And so Philemon, he goes to Paul, and Paul's in jail, and he's writing a couple books in jail. I'm drawing blank. He was writing Colossus. He was Colossians, and I think it was Philemon in there as well, under duress in Rome, where he's being captured. So he's writing these letters. The Philemon is taking this letter back to Colossus. He says, "Listen, you guys have to understand, Gnosticism is real, but Jesus is really the king." And so he goes back and he teaches all this. But what he's doing in this teaching is just like us. We need to understand it is real. Christ is real. It's not just tricks. It's not just tricks. Literally, God created the greatness, right? God made this happen, right? So it's not just tricks. And here's what's going on. So when he gets back there, he writes to Colossus and he says to them, listen, pay attention, my friends. This is life-changing stuff, all of you here at Colossus. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. And I'm going to close this show. I'm going to break this down for you real quick here, because I want you to know, as us wired differently counterculture people, as people like Larry Elder speaks this way. This verse embodies him. and how he handles himself in all things. And I want you to be willing to handle yourself in this way in almost every situation. Let your conversation be always full of grace. Let your conversation be full of grace, Todd. Find the grace in the situation. But yet I want you to understand it should be seasoned with salt. Well, why would we be seasoning a conversation with salt? Because back then, salt, they didn't have refrigeration, but they needed meat. And the only way to keep meat fresh was to put lots of salt on it. And it kept the meat fresh even in the uncold weather, right? And so you need to season your conversation with some flavor. Season your conversation with some veracity. Season your conversation with some longitude and latitude, right? Make it extend, preserve it, make it go further, make it be real, make it be authentic, right? That's what the salt means in it. So then he goes on to say, let your conversation be always full of grace. First and foremost is the only word he uses right there. And he says, but use salt on it. Okay. Make sure it's graceful, but don't be afraid. Put some salt on it, spice it up a little bit, make it last as long as you can, make it real. And he says, so that use grace and use salt so that, right? Now, here's the answer. This is why you're using grace. This is why you're using salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. And so that's what blows me away about this entire verse. I get, let your conversation, Larry, always be full of grace. I get it, Larry Elder. I get it, Larry Elder, when you do it with salt, right? I know you put it on a little thick, you put it on a little salty, you put it on preservatives, but you let it rip potato chip. But so that we know that we do that, so that you may know how to answer everyone. So it just blows me away. So God, what you're telling me is I'm supposed to have an answer for everyone? Yeah, Todd, I think you should have an answer for everyone. I actually wrote it down through Paul in Colossians 4:6. Everyone. I said, well, God, well, how am I supposed to have an answer for everyone? Is this what I want you to write down? This is what you want you to understand. How can I have an answer for everyone? Well, first and foremost, if we have the Spirit in us, we are going to be having God dwelling in us. He is going to help us through these moments. He's going to give us the words. He's going to give us the time. He's going to give us the mercy. He's going to give us the grace. He's going to give us those things. But when you see Larry Elder talk this afternoon, you're going to see a man of God able to answer everyone. I don't think God or Larry or me or anyone, when we say we have an answer for everyone, that we're necessarily saying it's always going to be the exact right answer for everyone at the right time. But we will not be quiet. You see, that's counterculture. You can't be counterculture if you're quiet, if you don't respond, if you don't share your side, if you're not willing to lift God up in all that you do, if you're not willing to stand for him, right? That's what I believe is going on here in Colossians 4:6. I know it's an interesting twist, but it does take us very back to the situation with even Chad driving the damn truck across country with diesel in it, right? I had an answer for Chad. He had an answer back for me, right? Larry Elder's got answers. God's got answers. Apostle Paul had answers. Let your conversation always be full of grace. Start with grace, answer with grace, respond with grace, right? Season with salt. Be ready, man. Make sure it's lasting. Make sure it's proven. Make sure it's tested. Make sure it's a little bit spicy. Don't be so bland, right? So that you may know how to answer everyone. So here's the big question. How do you answer everyone? Well, here's how God wants us to answer everyone. And I've done this by watching countless videos of even a guy like Larry Elder. A titan in the radio world, a titan in the media world. I mean, literally he's been put in front of more. Matter of fact, when you watch this interview today, I'm going to put an interview on there where someone tries to put Larry Elder on his butt, and Larry turns the tide on a racist question and puts this dude right in his place. And he does it with grace, right? He does it with salt and some pepper, man, so that he will be able to answer anyway. So how do we answer? How do we answer everyone? Here it is. How to speak to everyone. I want you to speak wholesome, fitting, kind, sensitive, purposeful, complimentary, gentle, loving, thoughtful, and truthful. I don't want to say it's simple, but I'm going to say it's right. I don't want to say that it's easy, but I'm going to want to say that it's how you have to do it, right? I don't want to say that you're going to be able to be counterculture all the time. Counterculture is our calling. Counterculture is wired differently. Counterculture is the gospel, right? Jesus came to this earth as the ultimate countercultural person, being, spirit, right? Jesus came here to flip this earth upside down. Counterculture, to take the leadership chart and put the employees at the top and the leaders at the bottom. He turned it all upside down. Counterculture just isn't in racism, bias and unbiased. It's not in just minorities or not minorities. It's not with just Israel and the Palestine and Ukraine and all the things that are going on. Counterculture it's not a new thing. I got to tell you, counterculture was brought here by Jesus Christ himself. He came here to spread counterculture. He came here to lift people up and give them the power to believe and love and trust in counterculture. And this is why I'm going on about it. Because you're going to be confronted with counterculture. You're going to be able to have to stand up one day and take a side. You're going to have to stand up one day and say, no, that's not my culture. I know the world is this way, but my culture is this way. I'm counterculture. I'm going with God on this. That same fuel that you have to be counterculture as a wired differently, gospel understanding individual is going to allow you to be counterculture in the workplace. It allows Larry Elder to be counterculture when it comes to talking about debunking some of these stats that the Democrats are throwing out there, the liberals are throwing out there about unarmed black people and BLM and all the things that are going on and jobs like this poor guy. This guy was harassing Larry. He said this is an interview for Larry, but he spoke for like 3 minutes. It gave him 10 seconds to respond to all the ridiculous stuff that was unfounded in his facts. That's the idea. That's the haranguing of counterculture. That's what Larry goes through. That's what we go through as Christians. You better embrace it, because it's the unconventional brilliance that I'm talking about that we're called to aspire. I aspire to counterculture. I want you to relish and aspire to counterculture. Thank you, Larry Elder, for all you've done. Thank you for this amazing show we're going to have live at noon. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for being willing to step up and be counterculture. I love you. Chad and Brian, drive safe. We need that equipment here now. Come on now. God bless you guys.